All right, so I'm going to be doing another comic review. Yeah, I kind of blew through this one. Another book sent to me by my friend Chris. Thank you once again, bro. And today we're going to be talking about X-Men Heir of Apocalypse. I was going to do a DC book, but I was like, I really wanted to read this. Now that the Blood Hunt stuff is over, I can now move on to the other Marvel books. And I think what I'm going to do, because the next few Marvel books I want to review through are, because Chris sent me all the first volumes of the X-Men, of the new era of X-Men. So I think what I'm going to do is do like this Marvel, then to DC, then Marvel, DC, bounce back and forth with maybe some indies in between to like break up the monotony. But anyway, so let's get started with X-Men Heir of Apocalypse. The reason why I started with this book first is because A, this kind of felt like an event book, and also I was curious to see who would become the Heir of Apocalypse. But not only that, I also was very curious. I was very curious because I thought this was just going to not be a thing, but it turns out that this will be a legit part of an event, upcoming X-Men event. This is actually important. I was afraid like they weren't going to care about it, so this is now like important reading. Yeah, so this is kind of like before, like in that little era between like the X-Men got their shit together and things like that. This is like shortly after the fall of X. So so the comic is written by Steve Fox, and Steve Fox is like the king of miniseries. Like, I don't think I've seen him doing an ongoing. All I've seen Steve Fox do is just miniseries after miniseries after miniseries. And at least like he's good at it. That's the thing, is that he's really good at doing a miniseries. He's actually knows how to like tell a whole story without wasting anything in four to five issues. So I'll give him that. He's really good at like pacing in a minuscule amount of time and still make it feel like a full story. So like I said, this comic is set after the fall of X, and the X-Men are still like reeling from it. But remember, Arakko was safe. Arakko is still safe on Mars, for the most part, I should say. And now Apocalypse has returned to Arakko and is ruling it. But the thing is, he's like, after like Earth, he's kind of come to this realization that, like, I don't really care much for humans, but I was wrong to, like, how I tried to force the whole survival of the fittest thing on our mutant race. Krakoa was a loss, and it did show me that we need a different path. I need a different path to helping, mutant kind to evolve further. But I can't do it. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna hold a trial, and one of you mutants are going to take over as my heir. So he selects 12 mutants to see who would be the X-Men, who would be the leader of the next era of Apocalypse, who would be his heir. So basically, we have the contestants being Armageddon Girl from that god-awful X-Men Green comic, Cable, Cypher, Emma Frost, Exodus, Forge, the Gorgon, Mr. Sinister, Mirage, Penance, Richter, and Laura Kinney, Wolverine. So, and M is here too. I should mention. Did I say M? Yeah. Oh yeah, she goes by Penance now. That's right. She used to go by M. God, I'm so... There's a lot of X characters. It's also clear that Steve Fox is a big fan of New Mutants, because a lot of this cast is from the New Mutants era. So it's very clear he loved that kind of late 80s, 90s era of X-Men, because a majority of these characters, like Danny Moonstar and like Cypher and others, they were all New Mutants. So very clear where his inspiration comes from, which is also perfect because that's also from an era of Apocalypse came from. So I really like this. For 4 issues, it feels like a straight up self-contained event story where the mutants are brought together, and Apocalypse actually has some really solid reasoning as to why he chose these mutants, and you see it in certain flashbacks here and there. The only one who kind of has a dumb reason to be here is Laura. She's just kind of like it's kind of treated as a throwaway line, if anything else, of why she's here, and she wasn't even invited. She doesn't. What do you even do? You don't even go. She doesn't even go here. Oh man, I just made a Mean Girls reference. Fuck. Anyway, You can thank my girlfriend for that one. That's a go-to for her. Yeah. What I also find interesting is that Archangel is also here, and so is Sunfire, who Apocalypse calls his two greatest horsemen. Sunfire just kind of fucks off, though, so don't pay attention to him. But Warren actually has, like, obviously he was once the heir, the true heir of Apocalypse. And even Apocalypse himself is like, you are my best, but you were so close to being perfect. But like, yeah, I'm not gonna hurt I'm not gonna hurt these guys. Like, they're one of them's gonna be my heir. And I do like the trials, and even including Genocide, the actual son of Apocalypse, quote unquote son of Apocalypse. It was cool to see him because I'm like, huh, yeah, I forgot he existed. So it was cool to see him in this comic. I also love how Steve Fox, again, it goes back to like Steve Fox being just absolutely perfect at writing a miniseries in the like a whole story in the span of like 4 to 5 issues. Now, this is a 4-issue miniseries, and again, he has such a great voice for these characters. It's actually really perfect. And again, to see this hodgepodge of characters is really nice. The trials are admittedly, like the Trials Apocalypse puts out, are kind of like, like having them all face Genocide, battling stone monsters and shit. But it's actually kind of like Apocalypse knew who he was going to pick. Like, he knew who he was going to pick, but he needed to see if they would have the follow through for it. And it's been over a year. This comic came out last year, so I don't really feel bad about spoiling it. And it's already been announced for like Jed MacKay's X-Men run. Like I said, the heir of Apocalypse is Doug Ramsey, aka Cypher. And you may be thinking, really? Apocalypse chose Cypher to be his heir, the guy whose only mutant power is talking to people. That's why Apocalypse chose him, was because he was like, yeah, I can't, like, I tried to do it through force. As, Cypher, on the other hand, he Apocalypse agrees that, yeah, I was part of the Quiet Council, I failed I failed Krakoa, and you lost the most out of all of us. You lost the island, you lost your hope, and you, Cypher, you can speak to people. Not just, talk to the, not just, talk in different languages, but you have a way of speaking to people and reaching out to them. So that's why he chooses Cypher, he chooses Doug to be his heir, his future, because you can do things differently. You're not a man of force, you're a man of words. That's why Apocalypse chooses him. And even, he gets reborn as Revelation, which, I gotta be honest, I like the design for his Revelations design. Yeah, right here. But when they showed him again for the upcoming Jed MacKay storyline, Revelation's Doug's wearing a shirt and just combat, he's wearing khakis, and I'm like, you had a cool design right there. Maybe they still use it, but I don't know. And it's cool to see that Bay of Blood Moon and Warlock are still at his sides. That's really cool. But yeah, I mean, Apocalypse is going to probably come back at some point and come with all of Araco behind him. But as it stands, I'm curious to see what they do with Cypher and making him Revelation and how he's going to affect the X-Men and mutant kind. All in all, I would say this is good and pretty. Actually, if you want to get into new X-Men stuff, this is kind of required reading. I really enjoyed this book, and I highly recommend it. It's a great love letter to New Mutants, as well as a lot of and also, I can't help but read Sinister these days without thinking Steve Blum doing his Starscream voice for Sinister, because it's kind of perfect. I know Sinister has a actual voice actor, but every time, he's such a catty bitch in Krakoa, both Krakoa and post Krakoa era X-Men. I can't help but think of Steve Blum doing his Starscream voice for Sinister. Just think on it for a second. Just listen to that voice and come back and read a Sinister comic in that era. But anyway, yeah, you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of X-Men Heir of Apocalypse if you read it? Chris, thank you once again from the bottom of my heart for sending me this comic and others. And yeah, other than that, hope y'all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.